Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. There are 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40x40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80x40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160x40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40x40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8, built from 80x40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12, built from 160x40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Now welcome to round 2 of the Endurance Racing World Championship season by GTR24H, and we are here for the 12 hours of the Nürburgring. Race is happening tomorrow from 12 till 12 Central European time, and the drivers are just about to go out for their 2 hours of qualifying here tonight. We have quite a few cars out here. We've got 21 on the grid through multiple classes. We've got hypercars, LMP2, GTE and GT3 all out on track at the same time, and this is actually quite a tight track, so I think the lap times of some of the faster classes might be hindered a little bit, which could alter the grids in those categories just a little bit. We do have a hypercar here. We did not in round number 1, but Team Viaducton have moved from the, I believe, GT3 category into the hypercars, and they are now making their way around to start their first ever qualifying lap in this McLaren Senna. It's a very fast car. It's sort of towards the LMP1 speed, although it's obviously not an LMP1 car, but that is the easiest one to reference it off, so it is a bit quicker than the LMP2s. However, the LMP2 field is actually quite a strong one. We've got 3 cars in there. We've got, I think it's ID Sim Sport in the LMP2 with Andreas Nygaard driving at the moment. And also we've got Rookie Monsters, and now One Move have gone from the GT3 category as well, and they've moved into the LMP2, so there's going to be a good fight in there. One Move and Rookie Monsters especially are, I would say, veterans of this car since it came out a couple of years ago for Factor 2. And they will be having Roy de Munk there in the car to start off with. But we will stay with Viaducton as they complete their first lap here in the McLaren Senna, and what a car it is. Very quick, a lot of downforce, especially in the high-speed corners. Not necessarily a lot of mechanical grip, so it is a little bit tricky in the slow-speed corners, but especially in the high-speed stuff, it is absolutely amazing, such as these 2 corners here. It's basically take it as a really long chicane before you go out onto the back straight. Although the first time of the day has come in is Andreas Nygaard in the LMP2. ID Sim Sport doing a 1:44.9. And the interesting thing is Viaducton seem to be maybe not quite up to pace with the Senna just yet. And in the practice session just before this, always Viaducton actually go for a bit of a spin there, so this lap won't count for them. As you're getting another few laps coming now from the BMWs of the GTE category. But yeah, Viaducton, they were actually slower than Roy de Munk in the slower category, so hopefully as the laps go on, maybe they can get a bit more up to speed, but it's their first lap there, 1:51.3, so still faster than the GTEs at the moment, but obviously having a bit of a spin there. Third place just went James Johnson, otherwise known as JJ, in the number 15 Simply Race entry. This car was pretty good last time out. If you remember, our last race actually quite a while ago now. It was back in April. We had the 12 Hours of Sebring. That was the first race of the season. We're now the second race of the season. And this car, they had a fairly solid performance. They weren't quite on the pace of the Musto cars, but they were still, at a reasonable pace. And even over the course of the first portion of the race, they only really lost 1 lap just on pure speed, which isn't too bad considering how good that Musto car is. But yeah, James Johnson had plenty of experience in this car. He races for Zancho Sim Sport in the Virtual Endurance Championship in this specific car, so he knows exactly what to do. And also, I see they've signed Djordjevic as well, and he is a teammate of his over at Zancho, so yeah, that one's going to be one to look out for. But we can never count out the Musto GD cars either, so yeah, plenty of these cars to look out for, and with all the categories it's going to be so interesting to see where they're going to put themselves. And it's nice to see a little bit more competition in the LMP2 and LMHC categories as well. But it's not only them, it's also the GT3s, and currently 5th place we've got the DIS SR Lab car, the number 45, and I believe they've actually got 2 cars. They've got the 46 as well, currently a little bit slower. And watching that battle between the GTEs and the GT3s is quite an interesting one as well, because the lap time difference isn't actually that much. The GTEs are slightly quicker, but obviously if there's a GTE who's a little bit slower, then they might be getting overtaken by some of the GT3s, and the GT3s are generally a little bit quicker in a straight line as well, which is quite an interesting dynamic to think about. And as the next lap comes in for Viaducton, it is the same situation as the practice session. They are still slower than the LMP2s, but I would expect them to, when they maybe get a clear lap, to eventually get further up the grid. But it is Roy de Munk at the moment who is the one on the provisional pole position, but only a tenth quicker than Andreas Nygaard, which is very good to see. The ID Sim Sport car was a little bit off the pace in Sebring compared to Rookie Monsters, and I believe Rookie Monsters are actually not in the server yet, but I am told from one of their drivers that they will be attending the qualifying session, so they, I assume, will be joining later. But yeah, Rookie Monsters really dominated the LMP2 category in Sebring. They easily had the best pace. They were at times seconds a lap quicker than his ID Sim Sport car. I actually felt a little bit sorry for them, but it's good to see that at least with this first lap they're actually not too far off the pace so far. So that is always that's always a nice thing to see. Only a tenth of the way as Roy Demick now comes to finish another lap, and he actually doesn't improve on that one. So maybe he's going out for another lap. And the lap times will definitely get quicker as the session goes on. It's a 2-hour session here, and that means the real road, the rubber on the track, will be getting more and more grip on it as the session increases, or progresses, I should say. Which means the grip's just going to get more and more, and those lap times will absolutely tumble. And even after the first hour, the lap times are probably going to be slightly slower than what the overall pole position is. The first hours, really these drivers getting used to the track, maybe changing the setup a little bit to get it how they want, how they like. And then in the second hour, that's possibly when they're going to put in some different drivers as well. They can do driver swaps with the in-game functionality. So I'm sure we'll see some driver swaps as well. And something that's a bit interesting so far is that the Musto car, Giordano Valeriano, he's actually just improved. Now he's 3/10 off James Johnson, but he is obviously slightly slower than Johnson at the moment. But that Musto car was dominant in Sebring, just like Rookie Monsters in the LMP2 category. These were seconds ahead of people at times in that race, especially Tiziano Brioni. Brioni was so quick in this car. He's a bit of a master of this car, actually, over the past couple of years. But Valeriano is still a very quick driver. And yeah, he is doing a good job there, but still a few tenths off at the moment, as Roderick, first one to get into the 143s. 143.4 now puts him a second ahead of ID Sim Sport Andreas Nygaard at the moment in the 199. He has raced this car quite a bit. I raced against him myself when I did some racing a couple of years ago, and him and his teammate Mathieu Ducrot, very quick drivers, and they definitely know this LMP2, so that is one reason why they're a second quicker. Bertie's Viaducts are now coming in to do a bit of a pit stop as well. Just getting maybe some more fuel on the car. But let's have a look a bit further down, see what some of these drivers a bit further down are doing. So GT3s we've got in 15th place at the moment. Alan Hansen in the 766 car, Corvette. As we were saying back in the 12 hours of Sebring, this Corvette seems to be a bit of a fan favourite for quite a few of the guys here in the GTR24H. Not only in the GT3 category as the Callaway Corvette, but also the C7R in the GTE category as well. There seems to be quite a few of them about over the years of me knowing GTR. Especially at the 24 hours in Viborg last October, there's quite a few of them out there, and it's awesome to see that it's still out there. It's a good looking car, this Corvette. It's still going pretty strong, although that car with Alan Hansen is quite a few seconds off the current pole position time at the moment, about 5.5 seconds off the pole as they come round to complete another lap. One thing that we saw in Sebring was in the GT3 category there was also a lot of the McLaren 720S, and that is actually a good thing when there's not much difference in choice with the cars, because that often shows that all the teams have done the testing and they know one car is generally a bit quicker. So that's what they're going to go for. And that means that the only thing different between the cars is actually just the ability of either the team or the drivers. Which meant we had this awesome battle. There's about 5 or 6 McLarens having this amazing battle in the first few hours of the race. As Jamie Martos coming across the line there. 7th place at the moment, 2nd in class in that number 27 Sim Racing Motorsport entry, but that car specifically was doing pretty well until it unfortunately had some contact with can't remember who it was. I think it might have been the Ricky Monsters GT3, as the number 999 is in 3rd place, a bit behind them, a little bit off the pace, 1.3 seconds off. They're going to improve on this lap. No, not on this lap. But Bart Rodzian is in that car at the moment, in that 999. And this car was actually a bit of a, I'd say, contender in the GT3 category. They got 3rd place last time out in the GT3 category. And actually it's probably a good time to run through some of the championship standings. So obviously in the hub cars there was no hub cars out last time, so that is still completely open. In the LMP2 category, ID SimSport, despite being slower than Ricky Monsters, actually managed to beat them, as Ricky Monsters had an issue in the, I believe in the last hour, when that Beavis ran out of fuel, which is quite amusing sometimes when teams ran out of fuel, but obviously a bit of a miscalculation there, which actually meant Ricky Monsters, despite being easily the fastest, didn't win. So this 199 machine is leading the way in the LMP2 category. So they got 25 points, Ricky Monsters have 18. And in the GTE category, we have the Musto GT Esports leading the way from the number 15 Simply race car, as Djordjevic is now in that car in the number 15 Simply race. They're 2nd in the standings with 18 points. Then the 333 DMD SimSport car, although if I am not mistaken, I haven't seen them here yet, so I don't think the 777 is at least in the server just yet, as Ricky Monsters have now joined the race session. So yeah, that 3rd place in the GTE category is not here. Then we got the number 11 Cam Sport car, which I have seen about, so they will be setting laps at times. And then 5th place in the GTEs is the 166 Sim Sport car as well. So there are quite a few teams there out in the GTEs. In GT3 category, unsurprisingly, if you look at the pole position time at the moment, the number 45, the IS SR Lab car, is leading the way, having won that race in Sebring, ahead of the ProSim car, and that ProSim entry is now what we know as the One Move LMP2, effectively, which means similar SR Lab actually have quite a good gap. It's now 10 points to the 999 Ricky Monsters, and then the 777 DSR Nightmare has got 12 points, and the Californian number 188 car with 10 points as well. So there's a bit of a rundown of the top 5 in those categories for you. But as I said, Ricky Monsters have now entered the race. Tom Lombard is out there, number 37. And they need to try and improve and get ahead of ID SimSport in this race. Otherwise, that is not going to be too good for them in the standings, because there is only 4 races in the season. We had the 12 hours of Sebring, this is the 12 hours of the Nürburgring. And then later in the year, I believe on the 22nd of August, we will have the 12 hours of Matsusaka. And then we will then have in October the Endurance Racing World Championship from Viborg as well, the LAN event that everyone loves to go to out in Denmark. So after this race, we will be halfway through the season, which means every race really counts, and you need to make sure you're getting as many points as you can. And it must be noted that race survival is probably not going to happen because of everything that is going on with the virus. So we'll see. So we'll see what happens with that event and what is going to be exactly announced with the details, but I'm sure we are looking forward to that. Obviously something a bit different is up the sleeves of the admins here, so that is something that they're going to be releasing later, I guess later during the summer, and we'll see how that works out for them. That is actually a bit of a shame because Nürburgring was good last year, but I'm sure there'll be a just as good, if not better, event organised by GTR. Interesting, we've already had some driver changes, so the current pole position of one move, a provisional pole position I should say, they've now got Ludovic Ferrut in the car. I've known him from a couple of other things. I believe he's a French driver and he's fairly new to R-Factor 2 and that sort of stuff, and high level competition, so I've been speaking to his team manager, I believe Daniel is his name, and he was basically trying to find some seats for his drivers to get them more experienced, so I need to see if he can beat his teammate Dominique's time. I've also got Giuseppe De Fuoco has moved into the Musto car as well. So yeah, already some driver changes going on as well. And I've just been informed, so the DMD Sim Sport car, I said I couldn't see them. They are actually unavailable to turn up today, which is a bit of a shame. But that gives opportunity for someone else to find their way into a good position and see what they can do with that opportunity. One car we haven't really mentioned yet is the number 11 Cam Sport car. They are actually here, 4th position in the GTE standings, 12 points to their name. Sean King is in the car at the moment. 8th position, overall 3rd in GTE with a 154.3. I have to say, I actually quite like this livery with the gold and the red on there. Oh, big slide there for King. Goes over that turn 1 curb, and that just shows you how much of an elevation change you get coming into turn 1 there. He flew in the air as he went over the curb and then dropped down. It drops quite a lot. It's quite tricky braking zone. Got to be careful for your braking into that corner, especially for the faster cars as they overtake traffic, maybe doing a bit of a dive into the hairpin. Need to be a little bit careful with that. But Sean King there really showing you how difficult that corner can be if you get it a little bit wrong. Not always what you want to be doing, but fortunately, as it is a qualifying session, they have the ability to go back to the pit lane, get new tyres, and then go out again. So I'm sure he will be considering that. As we get another drive change, we now got Michael Slot in the car for ID Sim Sport, as Viaducton have actually beat them, so Viaducton have now got up into 2nd place, but still 7/10 off the provisional pole position. Always Slot there goes off into the hairpin. Well, it's not really a hairpin. You kind of take it as this really long, fast corner, but he obviously took a little bit too much speed in there. So Viaducton, 2nd place, 144.2, 7.5 tenths off the current pole position. And yeah, just going on board on my screen with them as well. It seems they're just a little bit potentially hesitant with the car. Obviously not quite feeling it just yet, but they are going to be trying some stuff, I would assume, over the course of the hour and a half remaining here, then also the 12 hours tomorrow. And for them, it's really about just getting to the end. They don't have direct competition as the driver of that car now comes into the pit lane, but they don't have any direct competition. So they can, just do their thing have some fun and then try and get themselves up and up into the end of the race to take home that 25 points. It should be fairly comfortable for them, but as we saw last time out for Rookie Monsters, even when you pretty much have the race, you know, the race sorted, you've got the win, if you run out of fuel or if you make a silly mistake, that is going to be you out of the race, or at least getting even less points. So yeah, not great for them. As I actually just realized I forgot, I said that the Pro Sim car is now the LMP2, but it's actually wrong, because I forgot there was actually two Pro Sim GT3s. There was the Audi, which was Rydemunk and Mathieu de Crop, but also there's the 007 car, which is a McLaren 720S, and this is actually the car that is in second place in the GT3 standings. So yeah, just a correction on that one, is actually this car, because the Audi of the other car in that team actually had a DNF, if I remember. So I think Mathieu de Crop had a disconnect, if I remember rightly. So yeah, that car is they've actually just got up to 9th place as well as we've gone on board with them. So good job for them, getting up some more positions. That's 3rd in class now for that Pro Sim car, 2nd in the championship. So that is looking fairly nice for them so far, as we're coming to the end of the first half an hour of the qualifying session. They've had almost 25 minutes here. As I mentioned before, that 2 hours is really a decent amount of time for these drivers. They can sort of build themselves up to a lap. They can learn the car, make some changes on the setup potentially, and then just generally get a feel for what is going on before really pushing later on in the evening. And the DIS 45 car is still improving, actually. Pole position currently for the GT3 category, 6th place overall, and he's actually done a personal best in the first sector as well. 2nd sector split as he comes down the back straight. He's going to obviously trying to improve some more. Championship leader in the GT3 category, number 45. And it's always good if you can get yourselves involved with the faster category as well, as they are ahead of, for instance, the number 11 Cam Sport car at the moment. So can they improve on this lap? No, they do not. So they must have made a mistake somewhere for them. As talking about the Cam Sport car, they've now got Matt Goodger-Scott in the car. If I'm not mistaken, he was actually one of their, relatively speaking, slower drivers, if I remember from Sebring. So maybe not going to be setting their personal best times. He just gets overtaken there by, interestingly, also the number 11 car of the LMP2. He's actually going to rejoin there. Unfortunately, Goodger-Scott managed to just avoid that, but Fruit having a bit of an issue there. Goodger-Scott just getting himself up to speed, as he's only just got into that car. The traffic is something you've always got to look out for, as Malcolm Smith just got overtaken by Team Viaducton, which is going to hinder his lap a little bit, but that is what happens with traffic. And then it might end up ruining your lap, or potentially ruining someone else's lap if you're in a faster class. But that is the skill of having these multi-class qualifying. You've got to get yourself in a good position, try and get yourself a nice bit of clean air on track. It's actually getting really busy as we come up into this 3rd sector. Look at all these cars. Got the 766 just ahead of Malcolm Smith as well, and he's probably going to try and get rid of Michael Ciccolini, who's in that car now, actually. So Malcolm Smith, even though he had a personal best 1st sector, I don't think is going to be improving in the start. But he actually does. He goes up into 9th place overall, still 3rd in class, as they now get the number 199 of ID Simsport getting involved as well, so they're racing here even though it is the qualifying session. Trying to get themselves a bit of clean air. We got who's in that car now? David Greco's in the Musto car, also getting involved. His last lap was only a 10th of the personal best, so Greco getting up to speed straight away for that Musto car. And the traffic is still quite a lot for this 766 as well, as ID Simsport finally get past Michael Slot. As a viaducting just up the road, actually purple in the first sector, which means fastest of anyone. So they are getting up to speed finally in this McLaren Senna GTR as he now comes out onto the back straight. And this car will be getting to some pretty nice top speeds compared to the other one. Might be just a bit less, yeah, about 290 kilometers an hour for him as he works his way through the chicane. You can see he's gone purple again in the middle sector. I'm expecting an improvement here because that was a pretty nice final sector as well for the driver in viaduct. And yes, he goes to the pole position, finally getting a nice lap there. 141.8. That is a bit more like it for a McLaren Senna. Now 1.5 seconds ahead of the LMP2s. They may have actually done a driver swap in that car. And they are, yeah, looking a bit more confident. The person driving this now, unfortunately I don't know exactly who it is, but he is looking a bit more confident with the machinery under him, as he is now following one of the LMP2s, which must be Tom Lombards. Still hasn't set a lap in the Rookie Monsters car, the number 37. I believe he, from what he was telling me earlier, he hasn't actually done loads of practice yet. His teammates have, but unfortunately, as it turns out, his teammates aren't available for the qualifying session, so he's having to use this as a bit of a practice for him to get ready for tomorrow. But Rookie Monsters are very, very capable in this LMP2, especially Tom Lombards. He is one of the fastest guys out there, so I won't be surprised if he is challenging for provisional pole position in that category later on as well. And yeah, just to let you know, in the car now viaducted, it is Mikael Seigard, Danish driver. Doesn't improve on his next lap, but still looking pretty good there. 1.5 seconds, which is a nice little gap. Obviously, he's not technically in the same class, but it's always good when you're in the faster classes if you can make sure you just get well ahead of the slower class, so you never have any sort of issue with them. And one car we haven't actually mentioned so far is this number 12 DGTE Racing, or sorry, DGTC Racing number 12 car, all white BMW. Nice simple livery there, but they are 4th position in class at the moment, and it seems that the GTEs seem to love a bit of the BMW M8. Quite a few of them about, and he's now coming across the line. Is he going to improve in this one? No, he's not for Chris Johansson. Maybe in a sec he will get a bit further up the grid. Someone who is improving again is Malcolm Smith and the number 999 Rookie Monsters. Rookie Monsters, yeah, got 2 cars here, LMP2 and also the GT3. And the LMP2's actually just got up to 4th place there with Tom Lombards, although he's quite a few seconds off, about 4 seconds off the pace at the moment. And Malcolm Smith now round the final corner to come out of the Coca-Cola curve onto the start-finish straight. If he can improve his time, get him up the grid. Yes, he does improve slightly, I believe, but still in 3rd position for that class. Tom Lombart's 4th position, number 37 team Ricky Monsters. Yeah, 147.5. That is, yeah, a little bit slow for him. But I do expect him to get up to pace, because he especially was their real standout driver during the 12 hours of Sebring. In fact, there was one point where he was on his own in the car, and he actually messaged a pit stop saying that he'd want to do a interview while driving. So we actually interviewed him while he was out leading the way, and I guess that is easy for some if they are leading so comfortably as they were in Sebring, although not too comfortably, because they did end up not winning the race. So yeah, don't ever rest on your laurels in endurance racing. Anything can happen, even in the final lap of the race. If you remember, Toyota, I think it was the 2016 24 Hours of Le Mans car, decided to stop working with only a few minutes to go. So that is always something that you've got to look out for. And in Ricky Monster's case, it was actually simply running out of fuel. They're now coming to the end of another lap for Team Ricky Monsters 37. Personal best 1st and 2nd sectors, so I'd expect Tom Lombards to do an improvement here as he comes out to the start for the straights. Very short run to the line here. And we have a 45.9, so yeah, getting even closer. One would expect that trend will keep continuing to happen. In the GT3 category, we also have a BMW M6, the number 188 car. They are currently 5th in the standings. The Californian car, 10 points to their name, and this M6 is a slightly weird car. I think you can say it is quite big for a GT3 car, and it is actually a fairly decent one in terms of the balance of performance as well. But it is a little bit unusual how you have to sort of set up that car. It's quite nice to see there's still some variety coming through, and Gert Nielsen doesn't improve on that lap, still 5th in the class for them, which is ironically where they are in the championship as well. Now had another driver swap in the current 3rd place overall 199 ID Sim Sports. We've now got another Michael, but Michael Pedersen is in the car now. And yeah, he was having a couple of issues with his game earlier, but good to see that he's made it into the session. He's out on track. With his, as I said, he goes off the track, but not to worry just yet. He's, I believe, on his out lap actually. So will just be getting up to speed and trying to set the best times he can. As we've also had another drive swap. Matthew de Krop now is out in the one move number 11 car. He will be getting up to pace as well. So it seems we actually didn't see this at the Nürburgring 24 hour that we had a few weeks ago. In that qualifying session, we saw teams basically leave one driver in for the whole session, and that was even longer. That was a 2 hours 45 minute session, where here, even though it's only 2 hours, it seems the drivers are changing quite often, which is always good to see that everyone's giving their teammates a turn and they're not just giving the responsibility to one person. And I'm sure some of these teams will be using it as a little bit of a testing session as well, just to make sure they get the setup feeling good. They just double check everything with the driver swaps, and they know exactly how to do that. As I see David Greco is on 2 purple sectors as he comes through the chicane up to the final corner. This Musto car is currently on provisional pole position, but only 1/10 of a second from the number 15 Simply Race. But where can David Greco put himself? Can he go even quicker? Oh yes, he does actually, by quite some margin. He's got an 8th, 10th gap now to James Johnson, who's back in the Simply Race car. Nice 8th, 10th gap, so improved by about 7/10 of a second, 52.3. And that is, I'd say, a pretty respectable time from David Greco. Just once again showing how good that Musto GD esports car is. Yeah, the number 53. Looking very, very nice there indeed. But another improvement from the 777 Pro Sim car. 12th place at the moment. The times are actually still coming in fairly thick and fast, and the teams are still improving. But as we mentioned before, the rubber will be going down. The times will get faster and faster as the session goes on. This number triple car, but Stephen Salsgaard in the car at the moment. Yeah, this is the DSR Nightmare car, and they got 4th place last time out in the Sebring. So pretty respectable considering I think there was 10 GT3s, so again 4th place isn't too bad, but yeah, 15th place at the moment for that car. And that is a 7th place in class, so just a little bit of improvement needed for them if they want to improve a little bit. And as I haven't quite mentioned so far, it's B32 Racing, the number 32, unsurprisingly, in the McLaren. Really nice livery on this car actually, I have to say, whoever designed that one, that is a good looking livery there on that 720S. Nice bit of black and orange colour scheme going there. Currently in 14th place. 6th position in class for B32s. Comes around the final corner, but I don't think he's actually going to improve on his lap. He was a little bit off his times, but someone who is improving once again is Tom Lombards. As he comes across the line, he goes up to 3rd place. He gets 2nd place in class there, with only his I believe third or 4th lap time that he set there. So it's good to see he's finally getting up to pace. So now ID Sensible dropped down into 3rd place in class. Michael Pedersen at the wheel currently. David Greco, purple again in the Musto car. He's just been overtaken by Viaductin, but I don't think that's actually held him up too bad. He might have lost a tiny bit of time on the apex of the hairpin. Because that's one thing about the Senna, as I mentioned earlier, it's got a lot of aero grip but not much mechanical, so in those low speed corners it is actually not necessarily quicker, despite it being a quicker class. It makes most of its time on the straights and in the high-speed corners. Always just behind Greco. Pedersen goes off majorly in the background, and that would not be an improvement from him, but Greco purple in the 1st sector, decent middle sector as well. Maybe he will be improving as they come into this final sector. That chicane is so tricky. Coming up to it knowing you've only got a couple of corners left to go, but you can easily ruin the braking, and he's kept it fairly nicely through the final corner as well. So is Greco going to improve his provisional pole position at the moment? No, he doesn't, so he didn't improve. But James Johnson has made improvements so far in this 1st sector. Last lap he went quicker at 52.9 he did, so he's finally got into the 52s. Still 6/10 off the Musto car though for Simply Race. So yeah, a little bit of a wait because 6/10. When you get to the very top of the abilities, 6/10 is a decent amount, and especially considering that Simply Race car has a decent amount of talent in it. I think they would want to be a little bit quicker. Having said that, Mr. Car has some of the best drivers here on R Factor 2 with Greco, Brioni, DeFoco and Valeriano. All four of them, they are very, very quick drivers. Been around on R Factor 2 for many years. Someone making an improvement is Sean King, Kang Sport Car, coming into the third to last corner, now second to last, getting the power on nicely, not clunking the curbs there. And into the final corner we go. As he comes across line, is he going to make an improvement? 53.8. So yeah, about half a second or so improvement for him. About 6/10 actually. So nice little improvement there. Gets him a bit closer, but he's still about 0.8 of a second off the next GTE car. And ahead of him are actually two of the GT3s. With the Sim Racing Motorsports car and the number 45 championship leading car as well. Just showing that there is a little bit of a crossover between the two categories. And talking of the number 45, he's actually gone purple in the first sector. He's going to be improving. As now comes into the final chicane. Actually lost a bit of time in that middle sector. So maybe it's not going to be too much of an improvement unless he has a really good final sector. It hasn't been too bad so far, and the final sector is really only about 3 corners. But it's a bit hard to gain and lose time. He's going to improve just by a few hundredths of a second. He improves to increase his provisional pole position to about almost 0.2 of a second. David Greco once again making some improvements in that Musto car. He is really on it at the moment. He's been setting some good sectors ever since he's got into that car in the number 53. All locking up a bit, sliding his way through the hairpin. Unfortunately, the camber of that corner really helps you keep the car down towards the apex and up through the Schumacher S. Should be easily flat out for these cars, even the slower ones. Now out onto the back straight, and he's really pushing his way through these corners up to the NGK chicane. Obviously, yeah, we are using the tighter variant of that corner. There is the slightly faster one that we used during the 24 hours of Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago. But then we also turned left there to go onto the Nordschleife, but instead we're turning right to come through the Coco curve. And can he improve? Yes, he can. Another 0.3 of a second. Another 0.3 of a second there for Dave Greco. So he is really pushing now. Got over 0.9 of a second to James Johnson. So they are really pushing their way. Towards a provisional pole position here. As we've had 45 minutes of this qualifying session going, so still an hour and 15 minutes for them to set their fastest times. Maybe do some more drive swaps. As Mathieu de Crop now has gone purple in the middle sector, LMP2 category. Not so good in the first sector though. But can he make it up in that final sector to improve his lap time? What's he going to do? No. Just just a bit shy of his current time, and Tom Lombards, I've just noticed, is already only 5/10 of a second behind. So Tom Lombards, despite only really jumping in the car for this qualifying session, has already got up to the pace, which is yeah, nice to see for him in the number 37 Ricky Monsters car. As he now comes around the corner to finish another lap as well, so we'll see what he does. Does he improve? No, not on this lap, but Mathieu de Crop has gone purple again in the first sector, so Mathieu de Crop is now the one to turn up the speed a little bit. And we won't get the second sector split until he comes out onto the back straight through the Warsteiner curve. And then there's a bit of a line in the road where we'll get the second sector split, assuming he hasn't done anything too crazy or cut the track. And he's actually, yeah, hasn't gone quite as quick as his last time. Remember, he went purple in the middle sector last time. A little bit slower this time. He's come fairly nicely through that MGK chicane. He's now coming his way to the final corner. Can he improve his provisional pole position time? He's got half a second to Tom Lombards at the moment. Can he go any quicker? No. Not this time. And that is the Chris Johansson now. Goes up, moves up a position, gets ahead of the Cam Sport car. Does a 53.777. All-white machine getting up into third place in category. Sean King is coming back. He's coming into the final corner. However, I do believe that he is going a bit slower on this lap. Where he doesn't actually improve. We've now got like guard in the 777. It's the DSR Nightmare car coming out onto the the front straight, I should say. He's going to be making an improvement in that car. Yes, he does, but he stays in the same position on a 55.5. So quite a few lap times coming in. Drivers don't seem to be taking any sort of break. They're just, when they come into the pit lane, they're just refueling and getting straight back out there. No time wasted. All these drivers, as Malcolm Smith, 11th place, third in class. Does he improve? Yes, he does, but also stays in the same position, but now with a 54.1 in the 999 machine. Once again, David Greco improving. He's just going quicker and quicker in this number 53 car. As comes into the final corner and out of it now. Will he improve, get himself even quicker? No, he doesn't. That's still a healthy lead for them. 9.5 tenths of a second, basically 1 second they have over the Simply race car at the moment, which is pretty incredible. There's a really nice gap. Very comfortable indeed. Tom Lombards now to the line. Can he get any closer? Not on this occasion, and he's going to back out and go back to the pit lane as De Crop comes out for another lap. Viaducting, are they going to go any quicker? The laps, I think they changed driver again, because the laps now of whoever is in the car have dropped off quite a bit. Although Lifetime says it's the same driver, interestingly. Still Egard in the car. But his times now are quite a bit slower than what they were before. We've We've got the number 78 Black Devil racing car. Although they actually got number 79, interestingly, on their car, but in-game they're called number 78. Either way, Black Devil Racing had a nightmare, absolute nightmare of a race in Nürburgring. All sorts of issues. They had, I think they ran out of fuel at one point, they had crashes, you know, everything went wrong. And they joined the server a little bit late here, but still, they are here participating, which is good to see. Good to see they've come back for round number 2. And currently a little bit off the pace. Hopefully in the Aston Martin they can get a little bit quicker, a little bit further up the order. As on the previous lap, Jamie Martos did a purple middle sector for Sim Racing Motorsport, but did not improve on the overall lap. But these sectors are coming in pretty decent amount. And talking of Black Devil, they are improving 2 personal bests so far for this Aston Martin. They are unfortunately last so far. However, they obviously have plenty of time, still over an hour to go, for them to be able to do some stuff. Although they've actually come into the pit lane, and they will be refueling, going back out, as Kasper Østergaard in the number 188 is also on the lap, although I think he's actually potentially backing off to start up for another lap in the BMW M6.
Okay.
There's quite a few drivers out on laps at the moment, but interestingly, there was a spell of where loads of people were doing personal bests, or purple, which means best of everyone in their class. But it seems that people are potentially slowing down a bit. Quite a few sectors coming in, but not any improvements just yet. As I'm looking at Tom Lombards, who's having to get through some traffic here, and this is really the main thing for these faster classes. As he gets past his sister car there. This is really the main thing for the faster classes. They have to consider the traffic when they're trying to find a space for their laps. And it's obviously, if you get stuck behind a slower class car, you're not going to do a better lap, because you're nowhere near the limit of what your car and what your class is capable of. So that won't be an improvement for Tom Lombards on this lap here. Have to see if he can make some improvements on the next one at least. Although, someone who did make an improvement on that lap was the sister car that he passed of Malcolm Smith. So Malcolm Smith in the 999. He actually got a bit of slipstream down the back straight. Only a tiny bit though, but maybe that was enough to get him doing an improvement. As on the last lap, I believe, yeah, number 45 went quicker. Purple for the GT3 category at 53.4, slightly increasing his lead at the top of the GT3 category. And Chris Johansson in the number 12, definitely looking potentially good for a podium here. Third place in class at the moment. They're ahead of the Campsport car. And I guess Campsport's really going to be their main rival, because it seems that we've got the Musto and Simply Race car, and then there's a bit of a gap to these two cars. It looks like it's going to be a gap between them for the final podium position. Johansson doing a nice job so far. Yeah, we didn't improve on that lap. It was actually about 1.5 seconds away, as Tom Lombart's just improved slightly. Didn't have too good sector 1 and 2, but improved in the final sector by a tiny bit and getting himself just a little bit further towards that pole position time of the crop at the moment. Number 45 here coming into the NGK chicane. Personal best in fact, it was a purple in the middle sector. So he's looking to go even quicker as he comes into the final corner. Andy Kurtzen is in the car at the moment. Danish driver comes across the line. Is he going to improve even more? No, he doesn't, unfortunately. So lost a little bit there in that final sector. David Greco once again making improvements. He's been in the car for a little while actually now, probably about 30 minutes he's been in the car. He's been making improvements ever since he's been in there, and once again improvements in the first sector. As he now comes to, I believe this is the Michelin curve, left-hander, and then the Varsteiner curve out onto the back straight, although it's got a corner in it. But it's basically a back straight for David Greco. And has he done better? Yeah, he's got personal best in the middle sector as well. In fact, purple in the middle sector. So I think this is going to be a nice improvement from the Italian team. Number 53. Coming round the final corner. Is he going to get into the 151s? He's just shy of that at the moment. Can he get there? Yes, he does. A 51.7, putting himself 1.2 seconds in the lead. That is really nice to see. Good lap there from David Greco. Andreas Nygaard now goes wide at the NGK chicane. He was on a purple middle sector, personal best first sector as well. The faster lap times now are starting to come a little bit quicker, but as he has aborted that lap, we will take a quick commercial break and we'll be back with you for the final hour of qualifying here for the 12 hours of the Nürburgring.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40 mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Welcome to the final hour of qualifying here for the 12 Hours of Nürburgring, the second round of the Endurance Racing World Championship season. And this race marks the halfway point in the season. 4 races in the season at 4 of the best tracks there are for endurance racing. We started back in April for the 12 Hours of Sebring. We're here today and tomorrow for the 12 Hours of the Nürburgring. In August, we go to the 12 Hours of Matsusaka. And then in October, we have the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So each race is very important, not only just because of the event that it is. These are, as I said, 4 of the best tracks in the world. But in terms of the championship, each race is very, very important. You've only got 4 races, which means you have to make every race count. And a couple of teams already did that back in Sebring. ID SimSport, the number 199, leading the way in the LMP2 category, but they're currently 3rd in class with Andreas Nygaard at the moment, as he actually comes around to complete another lap, although he's smoking his engine there as he comes across the line, so he's gone a bit too small on the radiator. And then we also have the GTE class, where the Musto car, that's currently being driven by David Greco, is leading the way, and they're looking pretty good here. They've got 1.2 seconds to the Simply race car driven by Goran Djordjevic at the moment. Then in the GT3 category, we have the number 45 DIS SR Lab car leading the way. They are looking also fairly good for pole position today. However, Sim Racing Motorsport are not too far behind them. But fortunately for them, actually, Sim Racing Motorsport DNF'd in Sebring, which meant that the number 45 car has a fairly decent lead over that car, at least in the championship. But that is not all. We have a 4th class here for the Nürburgring. We have a new class for this season. We got the McLaren Senna hypercar. This was available from straight away, but the first team to race it this season is Viaductant, and they are obviously on pole position at the moment, with it being the fastest car and class. 41.8 at the moment for them, 1.5 seconds quicker than the LMP2s. So if they keep it on the road tomorrow, they will get a nice victory. But they do have to get it to the end. That's the important bit, which Rookie Monsters did not do last time, which is why 199 ID SimSport LMP2 is leading the championship there. But it's been a fairly eventful qualifying session so far. Just a straight 2-hour qualifying session. Best lap wins. And the first hour went pretty quickly actually, and at the end there's quite a few of the purples and green sectors all coming in as people start to improve, and I'm sure we're going to see that even more as we come into the second and final hour of the qualifying session, as the rubber is really going to get down on the road. You can already see there's quite a big and wide racing line. You can see the tarmac is a lot darker, and that's where the rubber gets put down on the track. As Lightguard here deciding to go off that racing line as he came out onto the back straight in his Callaway Corvette. And you can actually brake so late into this MGK chicane because it's uphill. It's heavily uphill. You can really use that to your effect. Now comes into the final corner. Will he be making an improvement? He might do, actually. His last lap was his personal best, 51.1. He's going to improve second lap in a row. No. No, he won't. As Viaducton once again go for another lap, but not up to the speed that they had before, actually. So I think they have potentially gone on maybe to a bit of a race run or something like that, because their times are quite a little bit slower than their current qualifying time. Someone back in the car is Goran Djordjevic, amazingly fast GT driver, but not quite quick enough for Musto at the moment. Musto are looking very good. As we mentioned before, he races for Zancho Simsport, also in this BMW over in the Virtual Endurance Championship. And he, along with James Johnson, who's also been in the car this qualifying session, they both raced for Zancho. They had, I believe Zancho actually won the championship there this season as well. So they definitely know the car, but Musto, the Musto entry is looking very good, 1.2 seconds in the lead, and I don't think Djordjevic, well, he might do if he does a really good final sector, might improve by a tiny bit, but no, in the end does not improve in that final sector. As Viaductin now coming through the final chicane, and yeah, I think once again they're not looking at improving, at least for this lap. Yeah, it does seem like they're doing some maybe higher fuel runs or something along those lines, because they are, yeah, seconds a bit slower. Number 45 car coming out onto the back straight. Championship leader, as we've mentioned. And interestingly, they're 2 seconds quicker than their sister team, the number 46. So they definitely got an A and a B team. As he now goes a little bit wide in that final corner, potentially trying to work his way up to start a lap here. So if he is going to go for a lap, we can take you on board for a lap to see what this Nürburgring GP track is like, as he gets past some traffic there. I think there's simply a race car coming out, so braking really hard into this hairpin for turn number 1, but then he got to bring it back to the right for turn number 2, which you really try and sort of keep the throttle on mid-corner. You don't necessarily brake for it. At turn 3, you definitely do have to brake, as you make it into a bit of a chicane with turn number 4, or slide there for the driver in this car at the moment. Then you come down to 5 and 6, which is a chicane, but the other way, this time left and right, and especially this turn here, 6, very, very tight. A bit of camber on it as well, but you can use all the curb on the exit before you then come down the hill to the Dunlop curve. Turn number 7, again cambered, so you can really get the car in and accelerate hard. All the curb on the outside once again. And you come up to this Schumacher S. Tiny bit of a lift there, but potentially almost flat out. And you come into the Michelin and Vastana curves, which again, you really make it into a sort of a long chicane, left and then right, out onto the back straight. Through the kink at Van Borgen. Before coming up to the NGK chicane. Hard braking for this one. It's a really tight chicane, big curbs that you don't really want to touch. And you come up into the final chicane where you actually want to get a very late apex. You get a nice exit, all the speed down the start-finish straight. And that is a full lap of the Nürburgring for you. Unfortunately, he didn't improve. He was half a second off his personal best on that lap. But either way, shows you a bit of the way around this track. And now their sister car, number 46, they go for a big slide there on the top of the Michael Schumacher S. And he's going to have to go back to the pit lane. And that is going to be some heavy damage there. Or the number 46. So yeah, number 46 certainly looking like a B team. With all respect to them, obviously, but they are a little bit of a way off their sister team at the moment. On making improvements, still last place. But Black Devil Racing are there in their Aston Martin, and they have now gone to the 56s, so they have improved a little bit, but still. They are out there improving, at least on this lap, although actually the 188 car behind them, which is Kasper Østergaard, is still in there. Is actually catching them up a little bit. And Kasper's actually on a lap as well. So these two both doing personal bests, but Kasper is also chasing him down, so you can see potentially both of these drivers cross the line at the same time. If Kasper is not going to either back out or go into the pit lane, this is going to be a double. Two cars coming across the line at the same time. So first of all, what can Black Devil do? Are they going to improve? Yes, they do. They go as they're not last anymore. They're second last, as Østergaard actually doesn't improve on that lap. He was about 4/10 of his personal best, but Black Devil Racing, they're now no longer last. They are ahead of the 766 DSR Nightmare car. So yeah, not too bad for them. Got off last position. They've improved about 1.5 seconds since last time I checked, so they are making some moves indeed. Someone who is also making moves, Tom Lombards, third position, second in class. Coming up through the Schumacher S personal best on the last lap of 43.8, so getting a tiny bit closer, about 4/10 of a second now. Behind Mathieu de Crop. And these times stayed fairly stable in the LMP2 category for quite a while now, actually. These times, apart from Lombards who just improved, but for Nygaard and de Crop, those times have been there for quite a while now. So they haven't found the ability to improve just yet. Lombards not quite as fast in the second sector, but still looking all right with his first sector. Can he make any sort of improvement? Yes, he does. A 0.59, so now only 1.5 tenths off that pole position. I think de Crop is going to need to look over his shoulder now. That is for sure, as rookie monsters are coming for them. We've now got the Pro Sim car 007 making improvements in the first sector as well. As he comes round the Dunlop curve, I want to see if he lifts off in the Schumacher S as well. Yeah, just a tiny lift, so it seems the GT3s can't take that flat out, which is a interesting thing to know with how, obviously it is the slowest category, has less downforce, especially compared to the GTEs, which are their real direct competitor. Yeah, interesting that they can't take it flat out, just a little bit too tight on that first apex for them. And that really just shows you how you sort of take it for granted with how good these fast categories are nowadays. How you just kind of assume that they can take these really fast and tight corners flat out, but now Pro Sim coming around, not doing too good in the middle sector, and they actually escape before the line, so no improvement there. The IS Sim Lab now 45 through the line. Are they going to improve? No, they're not, but Johansson, actually Johansson backed out of that lap, decided not to complete it. As now the 777 car of Pedersen coming up to the final corner. hard to see, but that is all uphill as you come out of the chicane. And around the final corner onto the GP front straight. Is he going to improve? No, not for this one. Someone who might improve actually is Black Devil. They are back to their improving ways. Can they get themselves ahead of B32, who are their main rival? They're 8/10 off, so that's going to actually be quite a big improvement they would need to get that. And no, they don't improve on this lap. Chris Nygaard in the 199 ID Sim Sport LMP2. They are 1 second off Mathieu Decroix. Although he's actually made a bit of a mistake there in the NGK chicane, and he will be backing out to that one. But just on a side note, it's good to see, once again, good to see that they are getting up there within a second of the top guys in the LMP2 category, as they were. I believe there was something like 2.5 seconds off pole position in Sebring. B32 now. Coming out into Sector 3. And yeah, I really do think this is probably one of my more favourite liveries. Nice detail on that, but is he improving on this lap? Yes, he is improving in both sectors for the all Danish entry. Currently 8th in class, but what can he do? They are, yeah, 3rd last. 8th out of 10. Where they gonna put themselves? They improve, massive improvement, up to 12th position, which I believe is 4th in class. Yes, it is. They improved 4 positions there. Nice lap by the driver there in the Pro Sim car. That was a really good job. Not Pro Sim, sorry, B32. And that is Rasmus Borgqvist, who set that lap time for B32. Good job from him. And Kasper Østergaard just improved, getting himself up a position, I believe, a 55.0 now for that car. Now ProSim are improving the 007. Coming into the Dunlop curve, big lock up there coming in. Fortunately, as he previously mentioned, the camber does help that a little bit, but you're still going to lose a tiny bit of time. As he works his way towards these tricky final few corners. As you've already only got 4 corners to go on the lap. As you come out onto Sector 3. Double personal best though. Despite that lock up in the Dunlop curve, which means there's probably still a bit more time in this lap for ProSim as well. Now coming into the NGK chicane. Just clipping the curbs enough just to say hi, but that's all you want to do. You don't want to smash into them, not at that corner at least. But can he improve? 13th place at the moment overall. Where is he going to put himself? He goes up to 12th position, so he moves up to 4th in class, pushing down B32, who just sets that lap 1 lap ago. Lars Pedersen working his way towards the final couple of corners, coming to the end of his lap. He's a little bit of a way behind, but 55.1. Yeah, he's quite a bit off the pace on that lap. He's 1.2 seconds off his personal best on that lap, so no improvement. But number 46, IS SR lab car. Oh, big spin there. Got too much on the curb on the exit of the NGK chicane, and that will be him going back to the pit lane to reset and come out for another lap. His sister team car, another Matthias, this time Matthias Blom, is in that car. Coming into the Dunlop curve. Coming in quite nicely there, actually. They are 2.9 seconds off the pole position in that category, so they do need to improve a decent amount. Yeah. They want to get anywhere near the front. At least just getting themselves off the bottom. They only need a 10th, just over a 10th, to get off the bottom position in the standings, and that is always a good confidence booster to know you're not the slowest, as he now comes towards the NGK chicane. Oh, goes a bit deep though, and that is what I was saying before. It's so tight that if you miss that first apex, it makes you really tight for the second. Then you just don't get any acceleration out towards the final corner. And let's see if he improves. I don't think he is. No, he's not. Someone we haven't looked at a while is the Team Viaducten, McLaren Senna. They weren't doing quick laps, and it is very weird. They've been doing about 1 minute 44, 1 minute 45, that sort of distant, or speed I should say. And then magically, they've just got a 141.8 out of nowhere. So, yeah, a bit weird. I believe they've had the same driver in the whole time as well. So, unsure exactly why that is the case. Why they only have one random fast lap, but either way, they have done the lap time, and that is all that counts. Matthias Blom, once again improving in that first sector, jumping in the 766 car, going through the Schumacher S, using those curves nicely, or coming towards these two very quick corners. They're only, on paper, they're only these simple 90-degree corners, but in real life, or in actual fact, they're so difficult, especially the second one. It cambered downhill. It's quite wide on the entry, so it entices you to take loads of speed, but it really tightens up and has a massive curb on the exit. So a really tricky corner there, as Blom now comes to the final corner. He's improved in the middle sector as well, so this could be a personal best and an improvement. Might get them off the bottom of the timing sheet. Is it going to be a nice improvement? Yes, it is, and they do a 55.4, which has left Black Devil quite a way off the bottom now, about 0.8 of a second off the bottom to be precise. So a nice improvement there from Blom. Still 2 seconds off the top time in GT3s, but he improved that car's personal best by 0.9. So that is a decent lap from him. Now Enviro Inchanisti, can he get an improvement in the sim racing motorsport? No, he can't. Not on this lap. About a second off their personal best, actually. Nielsen back in the 188 car. The only BMW M6 on the field. There are quite a few of the M8 GTEs, but the M6 GT3, he is the only one, and his team currently being beating, I believe, by only McLarens. So yeah, the only cars that are ahead of that car are McLarens, which is quite incredible. As comes into the final corner. Hasn't set the timing screens alight on this lap though, so I doubt this is going to be an improvement, and no, it's not. But someone who is improving is Goran Djordjevic. Simply Race BMW. Coming towards the line, personal best in the middle sector. He comes out of the final corner onto the start-finish straight. Can he make an improvement? Yes, he does. By 0.2 of a second, does a 52.7. And he's now within a second of David Greco, but still a second is quite a long way at a normal GP track against someone in the same car. So I expect Musto are going to be the ones to look out for again as we come towards the final 30 minutes of qualifying here. Definitely looks like the Musto GD esports car is the one to look out for in the GTE category. As we come to this final half an hour, we'll take a quick commercial break, and then we will be back with you to finalise the qualifying here for the 12 hours of the Nürburgring.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. There are 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40 mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between 2 people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Welcome to the final 30 minutes of qualifying here for the 12 hours of the Nürburgring, the second race of the Endurance Racing World Championship season. And the drivers, getting their final couple laps in here. Trying to see what they can do, where they can put themselves for tomorrow's race. And the race will be from midday till midnight Central European time. I will be starting the broadcast a little bit before that, so do join in then. So that is 13 and a half hours time, if I'm not mistaken. The race will be getting underway. They'll be running all the way through the afternoon into the evening, and the drivers will be having to test their endurance over 12 hours of this very tricky track. It is tight. Most of the corners are very fast, but it's a bit of an old school sort of track. So there's still big curbs, there's gravel traps, and the track in general isn't very wide compared to some of the more modern tracks, at least in certain corners. So it does provide some quite a bit of challenge. And so what's happened in the first 90 minutes of qualifying? So we have four classes here. We've got Team Viaduct leading the way in the hypercars. However, they are the only hypercar to show up for this event. Then in the LMP2s, we've got Mathieu de Crop in the one move car, leading the way from the number 37 Team Rookie Monsters, and then the 199 ID Sim Sports in the GTE category. We've got David Greco in the number 53 Musto car, leading the way in the GTs, ahead of Goran Djordjevic in the number 15 Simply Race car, and Chris Johansson in the number 12 DGTL Racing number 12 BMW. All BMWs in the GTE category. Then in the GT3s, which is technically the slowest category, however, number 45 is ahead of a couple of the GTEs, such as the close nature between a GTE and a GT3 car. And the number 45 is leading the way by 0.2 of a second from Sim Racing Motorsport. And then a little way down is Malcolm Smith. About 0.2 further back is Malcolm Smith. That's actually quite tight between those few cars. Between the sort of podium guys in GTE and also the GT3 cars, that is a little bit tight. Such is the crossover between the two. We're now we've actually got 25 minutes now left of the qualifying session, and the drivers will be obviously doing their best to improve their times as they come towards the final stages. The track will be getting even more grippy, even more rubber down as the session goes on. Now I'm looking at Likegaard in the number 77. Sorry, 777, coming in the DSR Nightmare car towards the final entry chicane before going into the Coca-Cola curve and out onto the start-finish straight. They're currently 1.7 seconds off pole position. However, they are improving. 2 personal bests on this lap. What can he do as he comes towards the line? Going to make an improvement. Yes, he does. Jumps up quite a way to 13th place overall, which is 5th place in class. That's a nice improvement there from Likegaard, getting actually ahead of their sister car, which didn't look likely earlier on. But that is what they've been doing, as their sister car actually has improved quite a bit now that Matthias Blom has got in the car. Ducton improved in that first sector. Sorry, in that last lap, I should say. Purple second and third sectors are 41.6 for those guys. Mathieu de Crop back in the one move LMP2. Trying to increase the provisional pole position for that car. And seems like a couple of drivers just gone back into the pit lane to set themselves up for the final 23 minutes now. Michael Pedersen coming for another lap in the ID SimSport car. but has not improved. Just to give you a rough lap count, we'd be going for 1 hour and 37 minutes so far, and the highest lap count out of all these drivers I can see is the number 45. They've done 57 laps total, although that does include aborted laps and half laps and that sort of thing, but still 57 laps, quite a few for these drivers. And even most cars have above 20 or 30 laps, so quite a lot of laps being put down by these 18 cars we've got out competing here. And Pedersen hasn't improved again in that middle sector compared to that car's personal. As it now comes towards the end of Sector 2. This is a awesome part of the track, especially in LMP2. Really hang on to the car through the Vestana curve. Now through Van Borgen for the final 3 corners, which are probably 3 of the trickiest corners on the whole track. Really tricky chicane. I'm just right there on board with Pedersen, and you can really see how much rotation they've got in the car. That's loads. Really made it rotate for the qualifying session. Is he going to improve? No. It's about a second off that car's personal best as he overtakes one of the DSR Nightmare cars into turn number 1. B32 just improved there. B32 didn't, out of nowhere, actually improve. There was not, at least on the time screen, it didn't look like there was a single personal best, but they must have just put 3 very solid sectors together and has improved there. Gone up another place ahead of the DSR Nightmare car. So B32 are now 5th in class there. So yeah, little fast lap sneaking up on us there. Christian Kelly in the Cam Sport car number 11. Don't think it's actually improving. Yeah, it's not improving so far on the timing screens. What can he do as he comes towards the line? Yeah, no, he's not going to do. Not going to see the same as B32 where you improve the lap time and not improving the sectors. However, they're still in a okay position. They're only a 10th off the next car. So despite them being effectively last in class, in 10th position overall, they're not too far away. It's not like they're miles off the next car, which means if they put a nice race together tomorrow, they might be able to get on the podium. As Varducton, personal best now, purple first sector, coming out of the Dunlop curve, flashing his lights as he comes up to DSR Nightmare car, and you can really chuck it into these corners. Oh no, it has a massive wiggle of oversteer as he comes on the entry, has to abandon that lap. So that lap will not be an improvement from him. And despite them improving a bit earlier, the number 46 DISSR lab car has actually dropped all the way back down to second last behind Black Devil. So the other cars have been improving quite a bit over the last 20 minutes or so. And now Black Devil are back down into last place in the 46 and second last in GT3 category. They need to try and make some improvements as we head now well into the final 20 minutes of this qualifying session. Having said that, it is a 12-hour race tomorrow, which means qualifying isn't the most important thing in the world. As long as you're using this time to get yourself a nice setup, get your drivers comfortable with the track, get yourself comfortable with the traffic, and how, where cars can overtake, where maybe you need to sit behind someone, where you need to be careful with the prototypes or not. Getting that knowledge now is really what the qualifying session is all about, not just the actual positions that you finish in. Because that is the good thing about endurance racing, really, is that even if you're a little bit slower, if you keep out the pit lane, if you have a nice clean race, you can still get yourself some good points. Not like a sprint race where if you're slow, then you're just slow and you've got no chance. If in endurance racing, there's still possibilities of strategy, of or anything really, you know, people crashing, running out of fuel, disconnections, hardware failures. That's all more likely to happen, and that is why we come endurance racing. 46 comes to close in another lap, but once again, not making any improvements. 1.8 seconds off the pole position. Now coming out onto the start-finish straight. Again, doesn't make any sort of improvements. Back once again with Andreas Nygaard, although actually he's decided to abandon that lap. So yeah, he will be, he'll be going out again. There's 16 and a bit minutes to go. So yeah, plenty of time, including an out lap. Let's say that's 2 minutes. Another 2 minutes before your lap is 4. That means there's probably about 4, maybe 5 attempts left for these drivers. There's still enough to make an improvement. Someone who has improved that I missed was the Simply Race car. They now did a 52.5, so they're only 8 tenths off the Musto car. But yeah, 8 tenths is still a very, very long way in the grand scheme of things. Because the quicker that you go, the harder it is to find the time as well, because that time becomes an increasing percent. As Johnson goes and starts another lap. It's always the last few tenths that are really the hardest ones to get. Because if you're 5 seconds off the pace, you can easily work your way up to getting maybe 2 seconds off the pace. Then that next 2 seconds is really the hardest bit. Roy de Munck on a purple middle sector, but he span at the final NGK chicane. And yeah, I just saw he was doing a good lap, collects on him, and unfortunately went for a bit of a spin. There's still some pace left in that LMP2. That lap time has been there since the start. That lap time that they've got, the 43.4, was their second hot lap. Way back at the beginning of this 2-hour session. And even with all of the rubber going down, changing drivers, everything, that is still their fastest lap, which is quite remarkable, really. But that just shows you there's still time left in the tank for that car. Christian Kelly is now into the Cam Sport car. Yeah, he's just going around at the moment. Not actually, he did do a personal best first sector, but his last lap was 1.5 seconds off. So let's see what he does as he comes out of the final corner. Is he going to do anything to challenge ahead? Yes, he does. Out of nowhere, he improves. About 3 tenths of a second. That was out of nowhere. That was all in the last sector for Christian Kelly. And he's jumped up into 3rd position. But importantly, also ahead of one of the GT3s as well, which is good for the start of the race tomorrow. As I do believe the start is just in the results order. despite if classes are mixed up a little bit. So that is always a good thing. But that is still 1 second off James Johnson, but good improvement there. So Johansson needs to find another couple of tenths of a second to get back, and Johansson actually did get very close on his last lap. He was about a tenth of his personal best last lap. Like Devil Racing still out on track now, 2.8 seconds off the pole position in their category. Oh, and Nygaard getting stuck behind him, but that is not that's not Black Devil's fault, because there's the responsibility of the faster cars to overtake. As Johansson once again got fairly close on that last lap, but Roy de Munck now personal best, and in fact purple first sector for Roy de Munck. Is he going to finally improve the lap time of that car that he set an hour and 30 minutes ago, if not a little bit more? Can he finally improve that? He's actually got some traffic. This might ruin his chances actually of improving in this final sector, because he might get held up in this final corner with one of the DIS SR lap cars. Oh, he slides it into the final corner. His car's also looking fairly oversteer. Is going to make an improvement. Yes, he is. Goes to a 0.3. And I'm sure with a clean final sector, he can probably get even closer, maybe even towards the 42s. As Matt Beavis now has got into the Rookie Monsters car. The Tom Humbus has been in there since he joined, about 20 or 30 minutes into the session. And now Matt Beavis is getting in the car to try and fight for that pole position in the LMP2 category. But we've only got 10 minutes left in the session now. And not long left. 2, maybe 3 laps for these cars. Black Devil Racing once again out the final corner. Can they get themselves off the bottom spot? No, not on this lap. Close to their personal best, but not quite quick enough. Jeremy Martos still in this number 27 car. And if he will finally be able to improve. He, like some other cars, has had that time there for quite a while now. I do wonder if the actual racing line itself has maybe got saturated with the real road and it's actually got to a point where it's not improving anymore, because that can happen. And once it gets to that, it basically gets wider rather than gets more grippy. That could be a situation, which is why some of these lap times aren't improving quite as much, but he is doing a personal best middle sector. He is only 2 tenths off pole position, so this could be almost... Oh, unfortunately he's backed out of that one. But that could potentially be an upset if they take that away from the number 45, because just a reminder again, 45 is championship leading after winning the first race at Sebring and looking like they're the quickest ones here in general. It'll be a bit of an upset if they don't get that pole position. As Viaductin up through the Schumacher S. Such a tricky little corner. And he's going to dive down the inside of B32, sort of. Didn't really commit to that one. Though this isn't going to be an improvement from him. Someone who is potentially improving is Østergaard. Is he going to improve as he comes across the line? Yes, he is. He's just got ahead of Blom, ever so slightly by a few thousandths of a second. 10 thousandths of a second, so a hundredth of a second there for Kasper Ødegaard, or Østergaard I should say. Get himself into 15th and 7th in class with that one. Into about 8 minutes, so yeah, probably only 2 laps left for these cars, so not much time at all. Pressure really starting to get to them if they want to set a good final lap. There was no improvement there, but Blom might be getting an improvement. Matthias Blom has been pretty quick in this 766 car. Since he's got in, they went up a little bit, but then they got pushed down again by Østergaard and Likegaard. And I don't think that is going to be an improvement this lap for them. No, it's not. Matt Beavis finally out on a lap as well, so we'll have a look at what he can do in the final couple of minutes here. I think a lot of cars right now are just lining up to start their final lap or penultimate lap. Reutemann pushing hard, going wide in the Dunlop curve. Working his way now into the final sector, although I do believe he is not actually on a valid lap time. Someone who is, Matthias Blom, once again improving in that first sector. Can he get himself back ahead of the cars ahead of him? He actually, half a second ahead of him would get him 4 positions. Although, backed out of his lap. That is a shame. So let's jump with Matt Beavis. I believe this is his first flying lap. And from what Tom Lombards was saying Tom Lombards didn't have too much preparation for the race so far. His other teammates have. So I'd expect potentially Beavis to be quicker. And being only just under a quarter of a second behind Roy de Munk, I wouldn't be surprised if he challenges for pole position with his final lap or two here. Comes up through Dunlop to the Schumacher S. Easy flat out for the LMP2 cars. It looks like a fairly nice, clean lap so far. Hitting all his apexes, not sliding the car like we saw Nygaard and Demink doing. I think this could be a very good lap, unless he isn't pushing hard enough, which is why the car isn't sliding about so much. But yeah, even braking about 75 meters in the LMP2 cars, you can brake so late up that hill. And out of the final chicane, he's not improving according to the live timing, but we've now got less than 4 minutes to go. So yeah, this really is time for your last lap or last 2 laps, as de Munk is just behind him as well. 46 DS, the ISSR lab car. Coming into the Dunlop curve, personal best first sector, as well as Black Devil Racing, who aren't too far behind them. So a couple of GT3s here, coming to make some improvements. All those all over the curb there, and more improvements again from Østergaard. So some GT3s really pushing as they come towards the final 3 minutes here. Number 46 goes a bit wide there. Out onto the back straight. That is potentially going to lose him some time. Not ideal. But he's still got a good first sector, so we'll have a look as he comes through, and then we'll follow the cars behind as they come through for what could be their final hot lap. So first, number 46. What is he going to do across the line? Is he going to improve? No, he doesn't in the end. So then turn 2. Black Devil Racing, who once again have the 188 car just behind them, Casper Ødegaard. But what can Black Devil do? Can they improve? Yes, they can by a couple of tenths of a second, but they stay at the bottom. And Ødegaard does not improve. So he will be staying where he is as well. Now Christian Kelly getting overtake, all bit of contact from who's in the car, Matt Beavis from the Ricker Monsters. Kelly flashing his way there. There's a bit of contact just on the entry of the Schumacher S as Beavis wanted to get through, and Kelly was actually on a personal best, so he's not going to be happy as we now have a minute and a half left in the session. Kelly is the only one with a personal best lap time at the moment. But there's still just enough time, because remember, as long as you start your lap before the session ends, then that is good. You are then allowed to finish it. As Black Devil once again are improving. What can Christian Kelly do? He lost time in that middle sector, unfortunately. Don't think he's going to improve. No, he is not. So Black Devil Racing now look like they're the only ones on an improving lap as they come towards the second half of the lap and into the final chicane. Matthias Blom also improving as well, and Black Devil there using all of the roads available. And I think this is Dennis Hartmann in the Black Devil Racing car, as Østergaard is going to be held up a little bit just behind. Østergaard is not on improvements, whereas Black Devil is. Hartmann out of the final corner. Can he get improvement? He will have enough time to set another lap. 7 seconds to go, and he does not improve on that lap, so the session is over in 1 second. And now session is over, so anyone on the lap, this is their final laps. So as Plum coming to the final chicane, what can he do on his final lap? Coming into the NGK chicane, little tiny bit of a mistake in that first apex, and behind him Matt Beavis is improving as well, so a few cars to look, but where can Blom put his car? 16th place overall. Can he improve to get himself up the grid? Yes, he goes up into 15th place. Nygaard on his final lap stays in 4th place. Matt Beavis out of the final corner doesn't improve, stays in 2nd place in LMP2. So that's going to be it. That is Roy de Munk on pole position for one move. Good job to them, but that is not over for all the cars. We have ProSim coming up to the final corner. What can they do on their final lap? Coming out of the final corner, flashing as they go across the line, so they were obviously not pushing on that final lap. Viaducting into the final chicane. What can he do? Last lap, not improving actually, but this is going to be a nice pole position for them. First hypercar pole position of the season as well, and Viaducting take that with a 1:41.6 seconds, 1.7 quicker than the LMP2 field. And do we have anyone else on a lap? I don't think we do. So that is the grid. That is your grid for the 12 hours of the Nürburgring, which will be happening tomorrow from midday, 12 o'clock Central European time. And your standings are, as you see on the screen, we've got Team Viaductin leading the way in the hypercar category, followed by One Move, Team Ricky Monsters and ID Sim Sport in the LMP2 category. David Greco in the Musto GD Esports took out the pole position for the GTEs, some 8/10 ahead of Simply Race. It's a bit surprising to see Simply Race that far off with the talent that they have in their car. But either way, Cam Sport, third place in the GTEs, number 11, followed by the number 12, DGTL, number 12 car there with Chris Johansson. Then in your GT3's got the number 45 DIS SR Lab car, followed by Jamie Matros, Malcolm Smith for Ricky Monsters as well. But yeah, that concludes the qualifying here in Nürburgring, and we will see if we can get anyone for an interview. So while we do that, we will take a quick commercial break, and then we will be back with some interviews here from the 12 Hours of Nürburgring.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. There are 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40 mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between 2 people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
And welcome to the driver interviews. We've just finished the qualifying for the 12 Hours of Nürburgring. That will be happening tomorrow from midday Central European time, so do check out the stream tomorrow then. But we will get the thoughts and feelings of a couple of drivers who took part in this session now. And first of all, I've got Tom Lumbarts, who did most of the driving in the number 37 Rookie Monster. So Tom, how was that session for you? I know you are pretty much learning the car on the track because you haven't done too much practice, but you seem to get up to pace pretty well. So are you feeling comfortable now?
Yeah, it's honestly, I managed to adapt pretty quickly. In the beginning, I did just some high fuel runs to, get a feel for the grip, the conditions on the track. And I was able to get up to quali pace quite quickly. I was actually surprised that I did my best time quite quickly in the session. I was only in the end like 2.5 tenths or something off. So I was quite positively surprised by our pace, but at the same time, of course, we do still have that 2.5 tenths deficit, so we're definitely hoping for a good battle with the car in front tomorrow.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a good battle with you and One Move. Do you think you have they obviously had a little bit more pace in qualifying, but do you think you've got the pace in the race to potentially challenge them?
Honestly, I think we have a chance. Well, for me personally, I'm usually a lot faster in the race than I'm in qualifying. But of course, it's 12 hours, it's a very long race. So it'll be about consistency, about not getting cut tracks, and about general race pace. I think that qualifying is not necessarily very important around a race like this.
And I think for your team, maybe keeping fuel in the tank is probably the best thing that you need to do, right?
Well, yeah, it's ever since that happened within the team that drives our car, we've been making a lot of internal jokes. Matthew, he's had a very hard few weeks ever since that incident happened. So I'm sure Matt will remember and will be thinking of it as well.
Yeah, well, hopefully you can keep fuel in the tank, and so good luck for tomorrow, and hopefully you can make it to the end of the 12 hours and potentially get a race win.
I'll do my best, thank you.
And we now have the pole position man from the GTE field. We've got David Greco here from Musto GT Esports. So, David, first of all, good lap. Was the car feeling pretty good because you had a pretty decent gap to Simply Race?
Yes, hi all. I believe I almost never drove a better car, so it felt really amazing, the car.
Do you think you're going to have an easy race tomorrow, or do you think the cars behind will have a bit better race pace? Because I know Simply Race, they've signed a couple of good drivers with Johnson and Djordjevic.
Yeah, I've seen I know those drivers. I know they're very good, and I know their story as well. Easy, I don't think any race is easy, and even less so a 12 hours race. I don't think in race we have such a gap for various reasons. One of which is cannot stress the car as much. So, I believe that it will be very, very close between all of us.
And have you got, because obviously you're quick in qualifying, but have you got a good race setup prepared for tomorrow?
We do believe so, but we have to go tomorrow and see if it's actually a good race setup or not. It's pretty stable, let's say. It stays stable throughout the stint, so it, in theory, should be a good setup, but we don't really know.
All right, well, good luck for tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you as winners tomorrow.
Well, we hope for that as well. Thank you very much, and good job, guys.
All right, cheers. See you tomorrow.
Yep.
Right, and I think that concludes the drives that we've got for interview here. So we will see you tomorrow for the 12 hours of the Nürburgring at midday, 12 o'clock Central European time, although the stream will start a little bit before that, so do come in and join the show. And then we'll be running all through the afternoon towards midnight, where the drivers will be racing into darkness, and that'll be a different factor for them to contend with as well. But until tomorrow, this has been GTR24H, and we will see you tomorrow for the 12 hours of the Nürburgring.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40x40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80x40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160x40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.